St. Peter Food Shelf distributed produce today to members of their community. Aaron Stuvey has more about the need for accessible and healthy food and the volunteers that made the food drive happen.
Each month through October, the St. Peter Area Food Shelf sets up at the First Lutheran Church to distribute fresh veggies to anyone in need. The vegetables come from Second Harvest Heartland, which partners with the food shelf to distribute produce to the community. The food shelf says that more than 140 families came through Wednesday, collecting food for more than 600 people. Organizers of the drive say that events like these are crucial in targeting food insecurity and making healthy options affordable.
Especially when it comes to healthy foods like produce and vegetables. They are not cheap and they're not that easy to come by all of the time. And we have a lot of wonderful donations from the community that come through, but it's never quite enough to feed everyone.
The drive happens on the second Wednesday of every month, and there are no requirements for picking up food for the drive. People can pick up food for themselves or their neighbors with no personal information or sign-up required. Organizers give credit to their team of volunteers for making everything run smoothly, whether it's packaging food or loading packages into vehicles.
The volunteer force that we have every year for this drive is the community itself, the heart of the community. Everyone comes every year, donates their time, their energy to help. They want to make sure that the people in this town get to eat healthy, good food tonight.
In St. Peter, Aaron Stuvey, KEYC News Now.